Imagine waking up, you're 45, realizing your 20-year career in marketing, engineering, or data science could vanish overnight, leaving you not just unemployed, but unemployable in a traditional sense. But what if I told you that this isn't a nightmare? It's actually your ticket to personal sovereignty in the age of artificial intelligence. By 2030, AI is projected to displace 92 million jobs globally, according to the World Economic Forum's 2025 Future of Jobs report. First of all, this doesn't have to be worrying, because we saw other industrial revolutions in the past, for example the introduction of the steam engine, or more recently the introduction of the computer and the internet. In the past, such changes didn't only destroy old jobs, but at the same amount or even a higher amount they created also new jobs and new wealth. Today, the open and controversial question remains whether also the AI and robotics revolution will introduce new jobs or just make them obsolete. According to this WEF report, there will also be a net gain of 78 million jobs at the same time. But there are also other players, like Elon Musk, for example, or other experts that mention that these jobs will just be taken over by robots and artificial intelligence, and they will not be replaced anymore, and there will just not be such a need for human work anymore. So Elon is really talking about a situation where work might become optional. And for you, that means that the biggest risk isn't actually AI itself. It's the job title you've built your entire identity around. And the question is, if work is really optional, how do we deal with that and how do we identify ourselves? Friedrich Nietzsche once declared, God is dead. And by that he didn't mean that God actually is dead or he died. He meant that we killed our old belief system and that left behind a void for us. And this void is still here today, and we all are responsible to fill it for ourselves. Today in the AI age, we have another God, and this is the corporate God, which is coming with all the structures and beliefs we build around that. And that corporate God is being killed off right now. Because think about your job title for one moment. It's not just a role. It's actually a complete chain binding your identity and your potential. So the question I have for you is, are you ready to rise from the ashes as the master of your own destiny? And do you want to embrace this as a midlife career change opportunity? Or will you just watch your job, role and identity becoming obsolete? I've walked the path of personal liberation already a few years ago, and I can tell you, it's not easy, it's actually difficult. Also to make the decisions, it's difficult. It's also scary, but it's also exhilarating and it's very fulfilling. So stick around, because we are about to unpack why becoming unemployable isn't a tragedy. It's actually your prerequisite for true sovereignty. And with this, I want to welcome you to the Small Reset, where we blend rationality, spirituality, and strategy to help midlife professionals like you to achieve holistic sovereignty in an accelerating world. And today we're talking about this truth, that in the AI age, your job title isn't an asset. It's actually your biggest liability, because it fosters learned helplessness and ties your entire identity to a fragile corporate structure that's crumbling fast. So let's dive a little bit deeper into the reality we are facing. And we are all aware of it already, right? AI isn't just a buzzword. It's already reshaping everything. If you think back just 2 years ago, nobody was talking about ChatGPT. And today you can't work without it. It helps you already to automate your routine tasks, even in fields that we thought they were safe. Data analysis in finance, content creation in marketing, even coding in engineering. The funny thing is that the jobs that were considered 5 years ago as pretty safe will be the first ones probably that will be replaced. And us midlifers, it will hit the hardest. Because we build already so much experience and so much knowledge and skills in the old system, but still we have to walk another, 10, 20, 30 years till we get retired. I see and hear that every day in my community at the Small Reset. Professionals in their 30s and 50s, they're waking up and realize that their hard-earned experience might not cut it anymore. This is leading already to new psychological phenomena like AI anxiety, and surveys show that 74% of workers, they fear already obsolescence. But for us, it's not just about our job. It's our personality. So we have invested decades climbing the corporate ladder only to realize that those ladders are being pulled away. The problem is that the corporations foster this identity dependence. This is what psychologists call a learned helplessness. Because actually we were not promoting innovation or good ideas. We were promoting following protocols, chasing promotions, and tying our self-worth to titles like senior manager or director. I remember that from my old job in the semiconductor industry. My identity was so wrapped up in my role that the thought of losing it felt like losing myself. Now let's come back to Nietzsche. His idea of God is dead from over a century ago perfectly mirrors today's corporate collapse. Back then it meant the end of absolute truths, like religions, which was leading to nihilism, which is actually a void of meaning. And today the gods of job stability, pensions and lifelong careers are dying. So if your identity is tied to them, you're left with anxiety, dread and a sense of irrelevance. Nietzsche also introduced another concept, which is called the master versus the slave morality. And today he would probably say that most of us professionals, they fall into the category of the slaves. Their traits are being reactive, following prescribed roles, dependent on external validations like bonuses or titles. We are slaves to the system, resenting change instead of embracing it. Masters, on the other hand, create their own values, seeing disruption as a chance to affirm life. So what happens if we stay in slave mode? It will just amplify our pain. The fear of economic ruin. We still have our mortgages and kids' education to pay. And now I'm telling you, you eventually won't have a job anymore in 5 or 10 years. Did you ever ask yourself this question? Who am I without my job? But again, I don't want to be pessimistic here or draw this as a dystopia. I just want to help you to understand and to start realizing that and to become aware of your situation and to help you how you can change. Because let's face the facts. Big companies like IBM and others are laying off already people because they don't need them anymore because AI is taking over. And if you're honest to yourself, you feel that shift already. But don't worry, you're not alone with that. This is not only a personal feeling. Actually, AI anxiety is also a collective problem. We as a society know something very big is coming and that something will change radically. And it's also part of our human characteristics that we don't really like change. We want to keep things as they are. So there's this uncertainty that boggles us. But whether you want it or not, it's coming. So the best thing you can do now is to prepare for it and to prepare yourself and your mindset to deal with the change in the best possible way. So how do we turn this around? The key is reframing unemployable, not as a curse, but as freedom and independence. Because in the AI age, being untethered from traditional titles, that just opens the door to reinvention. Think about skills that AI can't touch, like deep creativity, human insight, intuition, and philosophical wisdom. And that's where personal sovereignty comes in. Here at A Small Reset, we divided sovereignty in 3 pillars. Economic liberation through diversified income, existential freedom by redefining success, and geographic independence via remote opportunities. Or, if we want to say it in Nietzsche's words, to embrace master morality, to become the master of your fate, become the creator of your life. Another concept that Nietzsche introduced, to practice amor fati, which means to love your fate, to love the situation in which you are. And it includes AI disruption. Just accept it as it is and as it is coming. See it as a catalyst for growth and not as a tragedy. In my own pivot, I used this to turn fear into fuel. And I was building the Small Reset as a platform for others like you. And now I want to give you 3 tips how you can change from a dependent human being to someone independent, to the sovereign individual. The first and most important point is start with self-reflection. That means going back to your roots and going back to who you really are. And that means you need to spend time with yourself. Disconnect. There are different ways for that. The most important thing is you disconnect from all the noise that's constantly around us. Turn off your telephone. Go to the nature. Meditate. Try to find the answer, not in the internet and not in ChatGPT, but within yourself. If you really don't know how to start, here's a quick idea. First, audit your identity. Grab a pen and paper and list out how much of your self-worth is actually tied to your job title. And be honest to yourself. Is 80% of your pride really being from VP of operations? This exercise reveals dependencies. To go deeper, you can start with simple shadow work. Shadow work is actually based on Carl Jung, whose frameworks we'll dive into the next video. Now ask yourself, what parts of myself have I rejected because they didn't fit my corporate role? Maybe some creative skills or entrepreneurial dreams. And if you uncover them, this builds self-awareness. The second step is to build sovereignty practically, meaning to diversify your income with AI-proof side hustles, so that you don't depend just on your corporate income anymore. For example, if you're in marketing, you could think about consulting on human AI strategies. And I want to make clear here, I don't see AI as an enemy, I see it as an ally. It's a great tool and you should use it for your own independency. But don't leave everything to AI. Add your own philosophical angle. Because human wisdom and authenticity can't be replaced by AI. Another point that's important is think also about geographic freedom. You don't have to live where you live today, where the conditions are maybe not ideal for you. Remote work setups let you live and work from anywhere, and by that you can also break the office chain. The third point you should work on is to redefine success by your own standards and beyond corporate metrics. Nietzsche is talking about the will to power. And by will to power he means not like to rule other people, but it's actually the power over oneself. And that's usually coming from discipline and determination. Set yourself a goal like launching a personal brand, or learn a certain topic that you always wanted but never had time for it. I have friends that went from a career in finance to AI coaching, and they're earning now more than before, with a more flexible lifestyle. And if you think you're too old, that's not an excuse. Studies show that new entrepreneurs over 40 are usually the most successful ones. But the fact that you watched this video shows that you're already one step ahead. Welcome to the awareness phase. You know already that the big things are coming and that you have to change something. If you want to dive deeper into that, subscribe below, because in the next week we will talk more about this. We will start continuing our awareness phase where we agitate AI anxiety and introduce the concept of sovereignty. Then comes the education phase on Jung's shadow work and individuation, where we transform your fears into strengths. You started to walk your way, just stay on track, and I'm sure you won't regret it. And remember, AI is your ally. It frees up time that you spend on repetitive work, and it allows more time for high-value work, like philosophical reflection. Because this is something that machines can't replicate. And start to think about the void that the killing of God has left. Because all of us have to fill this void somehow. And we are here to support you. If this resonates, if you're ready to break free from your job title chains, take action now. Subscribe to this channel and check out our other video on sovereignty in the AI age. Let's build this community together, because it's important to stay human, because humans are special, and we want to keep that. Comment below, what's your job title, and how tied is your identity to that? Or share your fears, or also your positive thoughts. It's important to keep this discussion alive. Stay tuned and see you next week. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.